Hello everyone, I'm Reluctant Artsy and this is my channel of just role-playing games and board games and things that are pretty and attractive and get me excited about gaming and the hobby and the direction that it's taking. And today we're going to cover briefly, hopefully, Ironsworn Starforged. And Ironsworn Starforged is... it has kind of completed its beta test, and the materials are now all coming together. And Sean was very gracious, the creator, Sean Tompkin, in allowing me to have access to the information. And unfortunately, this year, even though I had helped with Delve and playtesting that, I didn't feel that I could devote the time to Starforge, and given COVID and everything that was going on, everything was in flux. And so for those who did beta test and who helped Sean and the team craft this, I think that it's incredibly important to note that this was crafted during COVID. It's something that I think we tend to forget with some game designs, especially those that are starting to come out now, is that they've been created in the conditions of isolation and in the conditions of uncertainty and in a lot of ways fear and transition. And I think that that exemplifies Starforge. And I think that that's a good mindset to have when we're looking at its creation and those who helped. That everybody was going through a difficult time. Everybody had challenges this year. And yet those who put the time in for Starforge, I think, should be applauded for the work and for the diligence in helping Sean, Joshua, and Nathan really focus on something that would be amazing. Now, I didn't think that I was a sci-fi fan. I've played FFG Star Wars, and FFG Star Wars, it was okay, yes, it's a bit immersive, and yeah, but, you know, many core books, different eras, and then you have the proprietary dice. I'm not a big fan of FFG because of the proprietary dice thing. I just think that it's needless and expensive, and there's other ways of kind of interacting with the system. And so I wasn't overly impressed, and I thought to myself, no, I'm really not a sci-fi person. But when I look back at my early life, of course, being born in the 60s, I watched Star Trek, the first generation, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was very much a part of my life. And though I didn't have, you know, the t-shirt and wouldn't have been able to cosplay if that would have been a thing back in the day, I did kind of have, you know, there was a plastic folder. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but it was a plastic kind of, it was a good size, and it was all the blueprints for the Enterprise and for you know, the shuttle and all sorts of different kind of creations in the world, and it was really captivating. And as a, I guess, a young teen, it was awesome. It was just great to see this and to have it. And I had all the figures and stuff like that. So I guess I was kind of a Trekkie, but a Trekkie until I was about 15, 16. And around that same time, I discovered Space 1999. Very, very influential. Probably my favorite space show, next to Babylon 5. Babylon 5, I thought that that was great. I remember watching it when Quebec had the vote on separation. There was this big marathon going on. And as a Montrealer, all of my friends were camped out waiting to hear the result of the separation vote, and it was very, very close, you know, 49%, 51%, even less margins. And that was Babylon 5 night. That's a very clear memory that I have. And, you know, it just, that captured my imagination. Barbarella, of course, as a movie was just great. Again, as a middle teen watching that. It was sexy, it was funny, and it was campy, and I just love that humor. So going into this exercise of reviewing the system, keep that in mind, that I'm thinking about the COVID stuff and the creation of this during COVID, and I'm also thinking of the fact of what did I like as kind of what were my early sci-fi memories? Because very quickly I went into D&D and just got overwhelmed with everything, and then of course I wanted to consume so many more systems because I was excited about the genre, and I still am. 40 years later, more than 40 years later. So, Ironsworn. I don't have a lot of systems in my collection, but this is pretty much it. And I have others, I guess, over there. So there's lots of the red backed D&D books over there for 5th. Sold all my 4th, sold all my 3.5, sold all my 2, sold all my 1. And actually got rid of some of my ones, and you can watch previous videos to find out about that debacle. But yeah, I don't tend to hold on to things for too long, to my regret, actually. But I did purchase Ironsworn, and I purchased Delve as books. It's great to have the PDFs, and I very much appreciate what Sean did with the free PDF of Ironsworn. And just again, because even though I want to be brief, I'm probably not going to be, is why are we making such a big deal about Sean giving this free? Well, why do people use they use terms like, you know, it's unbelievable, and it's nobody, you know, there's certain people who mention the generosity of it, but there's, you know, I heard somebody make a comment that it was criminal. Sean wanted to give a gift to the community and realized, whether or not you're thinking Machiavellian and saying, well, this was all part of his design, I don't really buy that. I think that Sean wanted to give a gift of something that he truly enjoyed and believed in, and offered it to the community and said, if this sticks, it sticks. And if it doesn't stick, it doesn't stick. Whatever, I'm going to offer this to the community because you deserve to have a good game, a solid game that is both narrative with some crunch. Now, no, it's not, and I've spoke about this in my last video, no, it's not crunchy like Zweihander, okay? Do you really need a 600 or 700 page book? Seriously, do you really need a 600 or 700 page book? I don't think so. Okay, but that's my tastes. Your taste might be, I want it down to the last friggin' detail. Okay, I want to know how much that silver coin weighs. That's okay. You can find that out somewhere. And as you see, you know, behind me, I do have Warhammer, and I have some crunchy things back there. I think that Ironsworn has a good balance, and that, again, Sean offered this to community as a gift. So I don't think that we should be making a huge deal about that. Certainly not calling it criminal. Why? You know, he's got a job. He's making money. Now he's making more money, and well-deserved, because what he's crafted is amazing. And I am happy to invest. And I was even more happy. Now, I've printed out cards. And I printed out, I don't know how many reams of what do you call it? Cardboard stock, card stock. Went through a couple of boxes of that. But I chose to buy the Delve cards. And I chose to buy the Ironsworn cards, and am happy. And this will be something that I do keep in my collection. It's worthy to stay in the collection and not be sold, because I know that I'm going to keep on coming back to this, because it is so accessible to the solo player and even to the couple. Like my wife and I, just being able to kind of pick it up and say, okay, we're going to play this. Now, Starforged just kind of captured both of our imaginations, and a lot of it has to do with the art, and I'll get to that in a sec. So I purchased all these things, excited about what has happened in the past, excited about Delve, excited about all of the system, knew about Starforged, and kind of, I guess, in the last few months, have been getting increasingly excited. And when it was announced that it was going to Kickstarter, I was just blown away by, and I've got to be honest, the aesthetic. And I know that Joshua has communicated with me before, and Joshua, you are awesome for just even watching this simple little show of mine and watching previous stuff before I even knew that you were the artist for this. But Joshua Meehan is incredibly gifted, and I'm going to show you some stuff as I go on, because it was the art. And my wife, Sherry, looked and said, oh, you know, that's really cool. What's that? You know, could we play that? And all of a sudden, both of us were really excited. I wrote Sean, and Sean was, again, very generous and very grateful, or very gracious in allowing me to have access to the materials that playtesters had. So let's get into the actual review of what I've seen and my excitement. So first of all, I think we're going to go to the page. So let's see if I can get this proper. There we go. All right, so here is the Ironsworn advertisement. It's a standalone Spaceborne evolution of Ironsworn tabletop role-playing game. I've heard comparisons to The Mandalorian. I think that you could easily work The Mandalorian and themes around that in this game. Absolutely. I've looked at the material, there's no doubt in my mind. Anything that you want to do. If you want it grimdark, you can go there. If you want it kind of fantasy fun type, kind of like Barbarella, you can do that. It's so dynamic and so accessible that I'm really, really happy. Now again, this art on the cover is just stunning. It has the same feel of this. So try to get the glare off. So Sean has pieced together all of these elements in Photoshop or whatever program he's using. And he's crafted each of those images to be realistic in a fantasy world, and he's done a brilliant job. He hired Joshua Meehan to do the work and commissioned him to do the work on this. And I like the fact that it's color. I like the fact that it's vibrant. And I like the fact that it's dark and contemporary. And again, I'll talk about that once we get to some images. So I'm not going to read this to you. You all know how to read. Go and look this up on the site. But just some interesting things. Of course, you can play it guided. So DM, you can play co-op, like just your partner or yourself or a friend and yourself, with the die roll being the GM for the game, or solo. Again, you have the dice, you have your you have your GM built into the system, and yes, you do have to use imagination. So you're going to have to use some brain power. Now, here with this image, I mentioned in my last video to Joshua how much I love this image. It is contemporary for those who identify differently for their gender identity or their sexuality. I think that this is a brilliant image. They have such character in the eye. Or the eyes. It's at the moment it's just moved over, but I probably can. I wonder if I can do this. No, that's not going to work. Well, whatever. It looks great, and there's a power to the image. I love the backlighting, almost of a forge, and that theme of iron comes so much across in this image. Again, very, very excited. And again, I like the almost androgynous nature of the character. It's brilliant. The graphic design on this, again, I think that it's there. Nathan Gray, who did the icons. Nathan has done a great job. Slight color, not overbearing, certainly not primary colors. A muted palette for a a very great, capable game. And so there you go. Welcome to the Forge. Some stuff. This is the cover image again. Great characterization. A nice bot, possibly a combat bot following along. Has a rifle, a sword. I think the sword is just great, and I like this concept of you can't really fire guns in space. You're going to blow away your hull, and your hull is probably light anyway because of atmospheric issues. And so if you want to get really, really creative, you can understand why they would be more swashbuckly inside of the spacecraft and maybe more gun-oriented outside of the spacecraft. An evocative picture. I like the fact that there are a lot of female images or images that are multidimensional. Let's put it that way. These are the new things. So you've got a Starship, which is represented in a card. And so let's see if I can grab this out. All right, so I came up with some cards for my game, and I'm having a real problem. But here's the Starship card. So you're going to start off with a Starship, and your Starship is going to be particular to you and maybe to your group, and you'll share assets for this if you're playing group play or with two players. Your armed, multi-purposed Starship is suited for interstellar and atmospheric flight. It can comfortably transport several people, has space for cargo, and can carry and launch support vehicles. When you advance, you may spend experience to equip this vehicle with modular assets. And, of course, the choices are insane. You may not equip your Starship because you want to equip your character. And when I was going through the cards yesterday, I literally was getting a headache because I had so many choices. And as the next item says, build a legacy. You know, expand this world or the universe that you're going to explore with your character. And you are not shoehorned into being a particular type of character. You know, you don't have your rogue. You don't have your, your brute. You don't have your wizard or technician. You can mix and match the assets to really cater to you and to your way of playing and to what you envision. And I think that this is what's brilliant about the Ironsworn system. These cards are really the engine of I think, the imagination and the game. That and the 2d10 d6 system. And let's see if I can do this relatively easily. Here. So roll my dice. Oh my goodness. There we go. And of course, this dice has to beat those dice. And I can see that I've got a 10 there. And I've got a 1 here, so it's a weak hit. That dynamic of having, you've got your action dice, and you've got kind of the dice that determine the fate. You're rolling against that. Just, it's a brilliant mechanic. And of course, you're in space, so you're exploring the galaxy, and you're creating relationships. And this is what I was missing from Ironsworn. And I think it stopped me from doing my my play of that 18th century or 19th century game that I was doing called Dread Prospects. I wanted to continue it, and maybe I will. I doubt it, but maybe I will. I got too overwhelmed, but then I also realized I was developing a very relationship-wise story. And unfortunately, I was railroading myself instead of allowing the system to do its thing. And I guess at that point, I really realized the system needs to be honored. And you need to trust the system to do what it's meant to do. Well, the system for Ironsworn is you're alone with maybe a companion, but really you're alone in the wilderness and you need to focus on that. You're not building that many relationships. And the ones that you are pivots for you going on further. In this game, what I'm noticing is relationships are very central and very different because you're drawing on them, on those relationships, as access points for further investigation, but you're developing the relationships. I love that, Sean. I think that that's one of the most innovative things, and it's just a matter of a few assets and a few changes to you know, the way that we envision things, and I'll get there. All right, so fight for what matters, keep flying. You know, you can do so. Everything pretty much is the same as Ironsworn with slight changes. Again, this image is brilliant. I love it. I love the depth. There's a depth to the scaling and to the way that that Joshua has imagined, you know, this space. You know, he's looking at the forge and he's looking at what's going on, and he's capturing our imagination with the art. So I think the art complements the system. So, you know, you've got your action dice, which is your D6, and then you've got your challenge dice. And that challenge, again, like Fate, you know, what are you going to get? You don't know. And so you have to trust yourself with the system because you're primarily going to get weak hits and misses. And that's going to be that's going to be a hard pill to swallow because there are going to be times when you really want to succeed. Fudging dice. You're just cheating yourself if you fudge the dice. Trust the system and don't be too harsh on yourself. And I think this came through with Trevor Duval and Me, Myself, and Die when Sean explained to him in one of his kind of videos that he had before the second series, and I forget what he called them, but Sean had said, you know, what he found was a lot of players were very, very hard on themselves. Don't be hard on yourself, but allow the weak hit to happen and come up with the ideas, because the whole point of the challenge dice is to spur the imagination. Is it a narrative game? Of course it's a narrative game. If you hate that, well, move on. This is the time to stop watching. But don't think that it's only a narrative game. It is by no means. Again, I believe that it's got depth. And once you see the publication, you're going to realize, yeah, this is great. Now, the art. I'm going to go back here because I see that I left my dice open. So, you know, issues here. So, desktop. Let's see. There we go. So, here's the art. If you think that I'm just an idiot, mention in the comments. I don't mind. I'm not going to have hurt feelings. But I think that this art is absolutely spectacular. I said to Joshua that I thought it was very reminiscent of stuff that I had seen for Nibiru. And again, another system that I bought into, and I actually kickstarted this just recently. But I'm going to turn to say something that's got a little bit more art to it. Yeah. Here. So, look at that. And there's a wonderful style. I love Nibiru for the art. It's the art that's captured my imagination. And I guess when I was giving my preamble and speaking about you know, kind of my experiences sci-fi as a kid and you know, those blueprints of the Enterprise. it was the art that drew me in. It was the visuals that drew me in. And that's why I say in my taglines that, you know, I have board games and role-playing games and aesthetics, because I love the look of things. All of these images are evocative, very evocative. I love this image. I mean, that is just great. Again, reminds me of Star Wars, but it's clunky. And doesn't this just scream The Mandalorian? Absolutely. I love everything about the art direction, because I think that there's an intentionality about the direction of the art and the placement. And I think that what Sean and Joshua and Nathan, I guess, have done in this is really created something top class. You know, this is a top cast publication. It deserves to be kickstarted. And again, here's some more images. I can't find fault with any of the images at all. So there's the Kickstarter and what it's going to do. And I'm just going to flip this over to here. And you're going to see, look, you can get notified when it's launching. It's going to be on the 27th, next Tuesday, I believe. Please support this project. Now, let's get into some nitty-gritty. So, I'm going to see if I can do this. So I'm going to flip around here, and, yeah. Oh, okay, so I did have it already pre-planned. So I'm just going to pop that down, and I'm going to go to... There we go. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulties. We'll see how this goes. So here is chapter 1. And I'm not going to stay long on any particular picture. Remember, this is still what it might be. It might be gold standard at this point. It may. I don't think that it's beta. It's moved into kind of the next phase. So whether you call it the gold release or whatever, it's almost done. But I want to be very, very clear. It has not gone to press yet. It has not been released yet. But if you back the project, you're going to have access to what I believe is over 300 pages of the document in PDF form. You'll be able to play right away. And again, Sean's generosity should be applauded for what it is. Don't say that he's stupid. Don't say that he's criminal. I think he cares about all of us as gamers and as the community, and he's just encouraging us to appreciate the work and the time that has gone into this. And he said, hey, you want this? I'm going to appreciate you by giving you access immediately. And that should be absolutely applauded and recognized. So I love, I'm going to tell you this, and I don't know if this is Joshua's work, but I love this kind of hexagonal background. Very role-playing, again, very evocative of a system that's, let's face it, it's kind of like a hex crawl, isn't it? So you've got a number of things here. It's 60 pages, a little bit more than that. I believe that I've got 58 pages. And here's the table of contents, so you can see what's there. I'm not going to read it to you. I'll know how to read and pause the images. Again, beautiful. Just beautiful. So he goes through stuff, and I'm just going to kind of whip through this so that you can kind of see what's there. So the chapters, what we're going to be looking towards is the basics. We're going to have launching the campaign. Chapter 2 is brilliant in its design. Gameplay in depth, haven't seen that. Foes and encounters, haven't seen that. Oracles, it's going to blow you away. So moving down. And then we've got all the basic stuff. We're set in the Forge, and you have regions. So you can have the Terminus, which is a lot of people. You have the Outlands, a little bit less. It kind of just, the Outlands kind of gives me more of a Mandalorian feel than, say, Terminus, where Terminus is kind of, in my mind, something that's close to maybe Nibiru in some ways. I think Terminus could also be, say, from the kind of chapters 1 to 3 of Star Wars. Yeah, and then the Expanse, of course, the Expanse is much more open-ended, because you are really in no one's territory, and then the Void, which is where you are really just making it up as you go along, and exciting. So I like the 4 options. Here he gives an image of how that would look, and the fact that here we have the Forge up a little bit higher than the Milky Way, and you've got all the stuff. So great image, nice. Here, fiction. Envision your situation, do the mechanics, and then envision the fiction again, and then rinse and repeat. That is the way you play Ironsworn, and obviously this. So Iron Vows, same thing. You're swearing on iron. I think in my mind, I'm thinking things like swearing on your ship, not just maybe swearing on your saber, swearing on a coin, or swearing on something precious. But I really have that ship idea in my head, as swearing to your ship. But either way, a vow is a vow, and it needs to be carried through. And there are huge implications if you don't fulfill the vow. And I think they're a little bit stronger in this iteration of Ironsworn than in the last. So you have your basic thing. You have edge, heart, iron, shadow, wits. Character sheet. And so these are new. So you'll see 2 little boxes, and you'll see these quest, bonds, and discoveries. These legacies are a new addition, and as you accomplish things, you're going to be prompted to mark down in the same fashion, your 4 ticks. In the same fashion, you're going to be given the amount of ticks. Once you complete a set of 4 in one of those boxes, you'll have access to those 2 legacies. You spend those legacies and gain the experience, or use the experience. And when you tick them off, those little 2 boxes are going to indicate that you've used them and that you've actually bought an asset or upgraded an asset. I really like that addition. I think that it's smart, easy to understand, and I like it on the character sheet the way that it is, because it's not bogging you down. The background vow, right front and center, and then of course you're going to need a secondary sheet to mark down, kind of keep track of your quests and all the things that you're doing, and keep track of that. There is a little bit of bookkeeping that has to be done. I don't think that it's as excessive as things like the 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, where everything you do is basically an exercise in writing. I'm not interested in that. And frankly, the reason why I want to do videos is because, A, it's going to keep me honest. I'm going to be doing a video of a game, and I'm going to be playing. I don't like playing solo by myself. I know that sounds weird, but I don't enjoy it as much as doing it like this, because I feel more like I'm live, right? Than just going through the exercise of coming up with a story. I like this dynamic, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm an egoist, whatever. So, you are Ironsworn, you're driven, you're a spacer, you're competent, you're imperfect, and you're unbound. Yeah, that's great, nice. This, I think, is my favorite image. I think that it's my favorite image, as I explained before, because it's so broad. And it certainly has a strong military feel, but there's just something about it, and I can't really explain why. But there's a beauty to the skin, the scar, of the style of hair, and this kind of androgynous feel. I still think that it's a female, but there's a strength of character. The eyes are beautifully captured. I haven't zoomed in to see if there's anything there, but it looks like there is. Anyway, we go on. So, making moves, swearing an iron vow, all standard stuff, dice. reference moves, making moves, best practices for moves, action roll. We all know this stuff. If you're watching, you probably have played Ironsworn, or at least are familiar with it. All of this stuff is easily accessible. And of course, Ironsworn is free. Go to DriveThruRPG and you can grab it. I think you can probably grab it on the Ironsworn site as well. But just to remind you, a strong hit means you are in control. You are driving the narrative. Okay, you are proactive. A weak hit means that the situation has slipped out of control. You determine how out of control that situation is. If you've started a game and all of a sudden you go with this big move that's negative, you may not be able to recover. Don't back yourself into a corner. Leave yourself open. Instead of acting, you react. So how do you respond to reacting? You're on the defensive in a lot of ways. And if you're doing character development and you're really focusing on the way characters interact with the world, this is good. Because think about yourself. When you go out shopping, you're reacting to situations. You're reacting to the person behind the counter. I know that in COVID times, I'm there waiting for the person to clean the belt. And we're constantly reacting in our regular lives. I think that fantasy games need to have a certain amount of reality to be able to ground them. And Ironsworn does this absolutely. It's great. And a miss means you've lost control of the situation. You might need to overcome new dangers or face increased risks. What happens next? Again, don't back yourself into a corner, but be realistic about how did you lose control of this situation? And again, he reminds us, you know, you've got to beat, not equal the numbers. So I know, well, I'm not going to roll, but you know how that works. Anyway, all right, moving on. Rolling matches. Matches are either way bad or way good, depending on your action roll. Momentum. Momentum is awesome because that's kind of like your, what do we call it in D&D 5th? It's your inspiration, right? It's like having an inspiration. It's something that you can go to. You want to build it up. And you want to be able to draw on it, especially when you want to close the scene. When you want to close the scene, momentum is awesome. It's gonna help you move yourself toward that. And again, it's something that you've got to remember to be attentive to. Sorry, I'm very enthusiastic. And sometimes that I know that enthusiastic people annoy the hell out of me. So you may be annoyed, but I really am genuinely impressed by this system. And also the art. I love this. I love the way it looks. There's something compelling. There's something professional. And I think that that's important. There's you know, this looks professional inside. It's a great publication. Nibiru is awesome, and it's not as recognized as it should be. Ironsworn, I think, is recognized, but I think that it has much more potential for growth for those who want to delve into a narrative system, but also retain some reminiscences of OSR and D&D. No, is it perfect? No, but you've got tables and you've got other stuff. Again, the professionalism with the way that this is developed and presented, I think is important nowadays. And what we learned the most from this is Morkborg, the presentation. It was scattered, it was all over the place, but it was appreciated by a community that wanted something different than just the standard D&D images. And that's, you know, and that's another asset for Joshua and his work, is that it's not science fiction with a fantasy twist to it. It's science fiction with a gritty reality, but a reality that we can embrace and it spurs us on to envision the next steps. So when I'm looking at this system, I'm looking at the art and I'm looking at the system. I can't separate the two, because everything that I bought, like the reason why I love Free League is because Free League has done the same type of thing. They've been intentional about their art direction, where I think Wizards of the Coast just have kind of that regular old stamp of it all looks the same now. It's all very samey to me. And no, I'm not the type of OSR type of guy who looks back and says, "Oh, those drawings were so awesome back in, in AD&D and stuff." I guess at the time they were awesome. They're dated now. I love them still, but they're not compelling. When I look at a publication that has old school revival type look, I'm not as drawn in. I'm more reminiscent. I'm more nostalgic. This doesn't grab me. This grabs me as something new and something exciting in the present. I'm not looking back at OSR. I'm not looking back at D&D and the heyday, whatever you choose as being your heyday of D&D. This is pushing beyond. And, games like Traveller for GURPS and other sci-fi games that have been published, I think that this is probably one of the best systems that I've looked through. And as I say, I can't talk about how many I've played. Suffering momentum. Okay, so if you've got a -4 on your momentum, you roll a 4, that die is immediately canceled out. You roll a 3, is it canceled out? No. If you roll a 4 and you're at -4, it cancels it out, and then you use, your stat, which is probably just going to be 1, 2, or 3, and that's going to be your action score, and you probably will fail or get a weak hit. So, progress tracks, standard stuff. And again, here are the ticks if you're not familiar with the system. Progress rolls, you'll see you bop them all up, and once you get, so at the moment this is at 5. If you want to get a progress, you have to beat the challenge dice to be able to move forward, and we'll talk about that later. All right, so I see that I'm not brief at all, but we're going to try to whip through this. Legacy tracks, I love this concept. I think that this is going to be absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to really engage in it. And I haven't played this yet. I've just looked through it, and I'm happy. So you see, there you go. You use it for your upgrade your assets, and it costs 2 experience to upgrade an existing, and it costs 3 to buy a new one. And that just makes sense. And then here's an example, and that's spread, more art. And here's that Starship that I talked about before. You'll see that you've got, of course, you'll start at 5 health, and then as you move down, and I like this, when you advance, you may spend experience to equip this vehicle. You can bolster it up with different assets. So, lots of stuff which is very similar. Again, I love this. Very Star Wars-y type feel. Very Mandalorian feel. Love it. So anyway, I'm just going to kind of... so here's an asset. It's going to tell you what it is. So while we're at assets, I'm going to show you that... So... I've got the Starship here. There's the Starship card. And then I came up with... so you choose 2 paths, and I chose 2 paths. So I'm probably going to change this, but I chose an agent, and I chose augmented. And I have a premise that I'm thinking of, and we're going to see if I can make that come to fruition when I start playing this with you, because I am going to do that, and with my wife I have a different premise, and I have to choose one other, and at the moment I'm thinking of a utility bot, but I'm also thinking of a sidekick, and stay tuned, because we're going to see next episode, whatever that is, me choose stuff. So let's move on. Everything is there. You just do the one that's blocked out, and then you have those other 2 choices with 2 of that legacy. Easy peasy. And then, of course, these, it should be self-explanatory what they are. So I'm just going to, but look at that. I love, I believe his name was Nathan, what he did and his style. I think that it's great. Um, just look at, I like the iconography and I like the subtletiness. There's a bit of a pastel going on, and I like that more than, say, primary colors, which are harsh and been done to death, to be honest. So we're moving along here to vehicles, uh, and again, you'll come up with ideas of your own. I'm just whipping through this, literally whipping through it. Um, and of course, you have these paths that you're going to have to get you through, and we'll look at that later. Oh, just sorry, I'm just flipping through it really quickly because I don't want you to kind of pause on every image and take a picture or a screenshot or something like that. Wait, it's going to be absolutely brilliant on the 27th, but I couldn't wait. And Sean advised me to possibly think about waiting. Joshua was hopeful that I would put something up, but I really wanted to do this. And I had prepared this yesterday and just thought this would be absolutely fantastic to get out because I want you to be excited. And I hope that my excitement is infectious. It might be annoying as hell, but I hope that it's infectious. I love these diagrams. And I love Sean's intentionality about saying, okay, look, this is how the flow of play goes. Envision the current situation. What's your character doing? And then ask. Ask a question. Ask the oracle if you don't know. When your action or current situation triggers a move, then make the move. This is what happens. What happens next? What do you do next? So again, you're either in control fully, or you have partial control, or losing control, or have totally lost control. And that's the game. So there's the first. So I'm going to go over here and look at this. Yeah. That's 2, and I'm going to go here. So here we go. This is chapter 2. I'm just going to close that off. So I'm going to transition this over so that you can see it. There we go. So launching your campaign. I didn't have this at first, and he kind of put me on. Sean put me onto this and said, "Well, if you're gonna be playing and doing a test, you got to have this." And he was so right. I'm going to very quickly show you. Now look at that. Right? Right? If you look at this picture and you don't think to yourself, I need to own this, and I need to own the book, because this is going to be something that's meaningful to you. I think the art just screams imagination and wanting to be in that world and wanting to kind of figure out, what are those balls? What's happening? What's the situation? It's begging us to get involved. So how do you prepare to play? Well, you choose your truths, and this is going to be, and I like how he says this is going to be 60 minutes. It's going to take you a while to kind of go through this. Are we going to go through it? No, I'm just going to give you highlights. So, but we will go through it in the next video, because I'm going to go through this we're going to go through chapter 2, and we're going to go through every step to create my world. We're going to roll, I think, and I'm going to kind of deal with it as I roll. So, you've got your truths, and there they all are. What do you need? Well, I like how he's very clear. So he tells you what you need, and he sets it up, and then you roll on, okay, what was the cataclysm that took place? What happened? Was there an exodus? What happened? The communities. What are your communities like? So here with communities, few survive the journey to the forge. Dangers abound, but there is safety in numbers. We have made our mark in this galaxy, but energy storms we call bale fires threaten to undo that progress, leaving our communities isolated and vulnerable. You have options, and he gives you a nice amount of options. Obviously, you can come up with your own, but he's helped you through. Then, of course, what does iron mean? It's sworn upon remnants of ships, sworn upon objects crafted, bind their honor to their blades. And these are all things that I spoke about earlier on. Laws. Is this the Wild West? Is this lawless? Is there strict control? And religion, does it play a part? Does it not? Usually when you add religion to a system, you're almost begging for some type of conflict between either those who are, well, usually the way that we express religion is being very controlling, power hungry, striving for more power, and as I said, control of individuals. So we see it usually as a negative and not as a positive. You know my situation. I'd much rather see religion put forth in a more positive light with certain circumstances, but I'm very aware of the hypocrisy of religion and can see it at work in play. And I hope that it's not just done just as a kind of let's put our thumb down on religion, as much as kind of let's see the dynamics of religion in our world, if you so desire, to see, is it going to work or is it not going to work? And you can just ignore it. You don't need this, right? You know, you're doing maybe an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour play session. Do you really want to get bogged down by this stuff? Probably not. You probably want to do more exciting things. Though, if you want to play Dune and you get the Dune book and you want to use that as kind of a resource and play with Ironsworn, hey, you got loads here to work with. Magic's kind of one of those weird things in science fiction. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't know how you feel about it, but it always kind of, I'm never too sure if magic is a thing in science fiction. I usually err on the side of saying, no, I wouldn't use it, but who knows? It's never been something that I've looked at. So communication and data, medicine, artificial intelligence, war, precursors. So the galaxy has a rich history. Over eons, a vast number of civilizations rose and fell within the Forge. I like that. I may choose it, not roll. Centuries ago, two great powers fought a cataclysmic war within the Forge, and it gives or the Ascendancy, a highly advanced seafaring empire, once ruled the entirety of the Forge. And again, always quest starters there. I just find that to be great, because if you're stumped and you don't have the imagination to kind of figure out what comes next, you've got this and you've got the oracles. Horrors. If you want to play something like this where there's horrors in space, go for it. You know, again, you can do whatever you want. Creating a character. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. So get your character sheet. I don't have one downstairs, but get your character sheet and get your assets. Now, I showed you some of the other assets, but look at this. The driving factor of the game. So it's not just the dice. These give you, in many ways, the script. Don't just choose them and then ignore them. Use them. Choose them in order to use. Have a vision of what you want to do with your character. Get them, use them, and choose them wisely. And then think to yourself, okay, what do I want next? So I know that I want the diplomat. I want the shuttle. I'd like the combat bot. So those are kind of the companion support vehicle and path that I'm thinking of. And then there's things like Void Glider and Glowcat. There's shields and sensor arrays, engine upgrades. There's missile arrays. There's there's mercenary in a path. There's an archivist. I thought about an archivist. I know. Not one that you think that you choose. Most of us probably are going into battles, right? This is different. Tech, Ace, Armored, Commander, Blade Master. Yeah, I need to put Blade Master right there. I was thinking about that too. Bounty Hunter, Brawler, Slayer, and then you've got Deeds. Now, Deeds, Sean says, take these out. Take these out. You don't need them right away because they're consequences to gameplay. So once you fill 4 boxes on your bonds, you're a homesteader. Deed marked. once you fill 5 boxes on your quest legacy track. Oathbreaker, once you forsake your vow. And again, right? Oathbreaker, once you forsake your vow. Vanguard, once you fill 6 boxes on your discovery legacy track. And Revenant, once you face death. So these are all kind of added flavors when you're facing a significant event in the life of your game. So those are fantastic. So this is how he wants you to make your character. Get your assets. Totally agree. Couldn't agree more. Don't plug in your numbers. Okay, well, I'm going to put 3 in wits, and I'm going to put 2 in iron. I'm going to put 1 in shadow. No, start with your assets. Use that to kind of springboard your imagination. Then choose 2 paths. Now, I like this. I like the way he said, okay, you're going to do it this way. Don't choose all 3 paths. Choose your 2 paths. Create your backstory. Think about what you want with the 2 paths. Then write your background vow. So I know what I'm thinking for my own character. Board your starship. Take the starship thing. And then choose your final asset. So you can either choose a module, a support vehicle, a companion, or a path. The decision-making process is great, and it's arduous. It's a labor of love, and I can't say enough. Then you set your stats. So he's got it so that it makes logical sense, and it will help you to launch into gameplay. And then set your condition tracks, obviously. Envision your character, name your character. Gear up. And there you go. So there's options. So here's a good example of a table that isn't finished yet. So you've got some ideas here if you want to just roll. So a hotshot pilot. Let's say we get a hotshot pilot. So you use ace and gunslinger. So he's giving suggestions of what you could use. Again, that helps those who might not be able to just automatically say, well, this is what I want to be, or I can't make up my mind. Roll. You're going to get a character right away, and then maybe after you play a bit, you'll want to play more and choose something different of your own choosing instead of a random roll. Your backstory, again, you can roll if you wish. You can come up with something. Options abound. And there's your starship. Give your starship a history. This is highlighted, but I'm not sure why it was highlighted. I didn't find why, but I'm sure that that's not going to be highlighted in the real version. Choose your final assets, and it just gives a little description. So, building your starting sector. I like this idea. It's like mapping yourself out. You are not bound by, say, the traditional Ironsworn map that we've probably seen. Here you draw your sector map and you start thinking about this. And again, he says this is a 30 to 45 minute exercise. So you've got 60 minutes for maybe character creation. You've got another 45 minutes here of starting. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to go and play right away, you may be able, if you've got familiarity with the system, be able to get it up and running within an hour. But realistically, Sean is saying take the time. I think he's encouraging us by this number to say take the time to think about what you want to do. And then what's a sector? And, he goes through that. He says, if you're in the terminus with lots of characters, you've got 4, Outlands 3, Expanse 2, Settlements. And again, certainly helps you. You get to write down what you want, and you're just able to kind of really flesh out the world in which you are going to be playing. And then here is an example of a sector map. And create passages. I like this idea. So Terminus would have 3 because, of course, they're busy and they've got a lot of people. Outlands 2 passages. And here it gives an idea of what it's going to look like. I'm sure there will be plenty of videos out in the coming weeks that are going to show you how to do that much better than I could ever do. I'm more like a cheerleader here just with pom-poms in my hand going, yay, Sean and Joshua and Nathan for what you've created, and the community that has beta tested and again gone through this. So lots of tables, lots of stuff to sink your teeth into. And of course, there you go. And I'm not going to go any further. I think I'm just going to go to the next PDF. And I don't know exactly where I am, so let me just get off this. Maybe on 4 now. Yeah, I am on 4. All right, so let's transition this over. There we go. So we're at oracles. I've already been at this for an hour. I can't believe it. And I am sorry that it's not as brief as I thought, but it is what it is. The oracle section possibly impressed me the most by its dynamic. So there's blank pages still yet to be written, so you can see that there's still a lot of work that's being done at this time. But here's the actions. You've got the themes. And then you've got a descriptor. And you got a focus. And I like those additions. Space sightings. Obviously, you go according to where you have thought of. So if I'm in the Outlands, I'm going to roll on that. I'm going to see what happens. So I'll roll a D100 and see what goes on. So I got an 83. Chaotic meteor storm. And if I was in Terminus, it would be a comet with a tail of ionized gas. Just gives some kind of what I see. And then beautiful images here give you some, again, flavor. The sector name, spaceborne complications, opportunities. Again, a wonderful kind of image. We're familiar with these type of images from other games, but I just like the way that it's presented. And then here we have very detailed, reminiscent of, of Delve. And so you look here and you can see that you're rolling to kind of flesh out the world that you're going to be in. So whatever you've rolled up, here's some more descriptors to help you. And this, I think, appeals to the OSR crowd. We lived and breathed tables. We loved Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. You know, in 79, I would have probably bought it in 80 or 81. 80. And yeah, 80, absolutely, I would have had it. And, you know, the tables were the best part, you know. So I like this. And I like the fact that the art is just enough. It's just enough. It's perfect. It doesn't need to be any more. And I like that... again, the art direction. There's an intentionality about not being too overwhelming with what you have to offer. So Vital World, there's an equivalent to Earth and your various options. So let's say that I am still in the Outlands, and I got a 97. So settlements in conflict. Yeah. And so you got lots of biomes and life. And yeah, again, I hope, even by this kind of whip through of the images, that you get to see that you've got a lot of resources to draw upon. Yeah, again, the way that it's laid out in its current form is just brilliant. And then you've got settlement names that you can use or not use, Starship oracles. I think my tendency is to kind of hack everything and load up a whole bunch of stuff. And I think when I play Starforged with you online, I'm just going to stick to the book. I'm not going to use any other sources. I'm going to see if I can do that with no other sources. Just as kind of a discipline to myself. And also to really be able to sink my teeth into the book and what it has to offer. And then you've got mission ideas. And then there's blanks here, which might be filled. I'm not too sure if that... Yeah, I guess they would, yeah. Oh no, here's this. Scan this table and then use it for yourself and come up with your own names and then roll randomly. Sean, that's amazing. That's awesome. Uh, yeah, roles, goals, aspects. So you could be anything. So let's see what type of aspect I would have as a character. So, 97. Weak. Yeah. And here again, you know, print this out, print it out. Smart. Smart. Creature oracles. I'm not too sure. I like it, but I'm not too sure if the primary colors fit. I think that in this, and if Sean's watching, you know, I'm not going to write it down and send it to you, but shouldn't those, the lower ones, shouldn't they be more pastel-y to tie in with the asset colors? Am I wrong in saying that? Am I out of line? I don't know. But I just think that they're a bit more vibrant in comparison to, say, what's on the asset card. So I may want to tone them down a bit, but Sean knows what he's doing. And maybe it's just for clarity, so that on a table like this with the dark background, you can see them more clearly. And that might have been the artistic direction. So I might be completely and totally out of line. But it's the only part of this book so far that I've looked at and said, oh, maybe I changed that. Nothing else. So we look through future aspects, and you can see that there's a lot of content. And we want content. Do we need a 600-page book? No. I think about 300, 400 pages with tables, of course, is more than enough. But that's a personal opinion. So I'm not sure if there's anything else that's here that's of interest. So I'm just gonna get up. I'm gonna go here now, and I'm just gonna transition this off so that you can see the next little PDF that I've got. And so this is the moves reference. Now, the moves reference is whereas the cards are kind of the development, the character, the thoughts that you have of how you want to play. The adventure moves are your canvas. Okay, the adventure moves are your canvas, and so all of these move references are going to help you say, okay, what are you going to do next in this situation? So if you're not familiar with Ironsworn, you're going to look at this and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to apply this to what I'm thinking. Or you're going to say, I'm thinking about this. What am I going to use to articulate what I'm thinking? So here, if you're attempting something risky, you can use any of these. And I like that, Sean. That, you know, again, with the Ironsworn system, you can choose edge, heart, iron, shadow, or wits. When you're facing danger, you get to choose what you're going to use. Now, the cynical side is you're always going to try to use the one with the most stat. But I think that if you're honest to yourself, you're gonna use whatever is in that situation. So you've got secure an advantage, gather information, compel, aid your ally, and check your gear. These, I think, check your gear might be relatively new. I forget, but again, it just makes sense. Then you've got quest moves, and then you've got these connection moves. Now, these quest moves, whatever, look through them. The connection moves are new and awesome. Make a connection. When you search out new relationships or give focus to an existing relationship, not a companion, roll heart. You create a connection. Give them a role and a rank. Whenever your connection aids you, you add +1 and take 1 momentum. On a weak hit as above, but the connection comes with a complication or a cost. And you might have to do another side quest for that individual, depending on what you're thinking in the situation, or you miss, and that might be worse because you're going to have to pay the price. And if you're not familiar with what pay the price is, it's generally a bad thing. It is a bad thing. Develop your relationship. So if you're doing any of these things, you mark a progress per the rank. So swearing a vow, completing a quest to their benefit, leveraging help, giving something of worth, maybe a profound moment, or standing against hardship, overcoming a test of your relationship. These are all things that are going to give you ranks. And yeah. Now, the progress move, again, you're going to roll on the progress that you've marked off with all the ticks. So you might not be too keen on doing that when you're only at 4 boxes, but you might be interested after 6, right? So what happens? Well, here's what happens. And you're going to mark a tick for whatever the rank is. 1 for troublesome, 2 for dangerous, 1 for formidable, and, and 3 for epic. Because, of course, you're scaling, and that just makes sense. And those are marks, okay, on the legacy track, that track with those 2 little dots on the bottom. So you're marking. So when you make the progress move, whatever it's in, your progress move is going to give you a legacy benefit. And I think that that's awesome. And then test your relationship. And again, you're either going to develop your relationship, you're going to have a complication, or you're going to pay the price, and you may need to swear an iron vow. Exploration moves, so you undertake an exploration move. You go to a waypoint, you make a discovery, you finish it, which is a progress move. Set a course, and you've got chaos that happens. I'm not going to go through everything. I mean, people are interested in combat, so you've got enter the fray, gaining ground, react under fire, strike, clash, face defeat, take decisive action, which is your progress move, and then battle. And we're going to see that more come across with other videos from people who've actually had the gameplay and stuff. So I'm not going to go into that too much. And then the suffer moves. So withstand damage, lose momentum, endure harm. Your companion takes a hit. And remember, your companion is an asset card, right? So your companion is in here. And enduring stress. I always forget about enduring stress, but stress is so important in this game as well. You've got a mental shock, or there's some type of cognitive dissonance that's happened, and you're like, oh, what the hell am I doing? And you enter into despair, especially if you're alone in space and stuff. And I think The Mandalorian has moments of despair that happen when the child is gone and the relationships that he's built. I think that this is very much a reflection of the excitement that people who love sci-fi are interested in with The Mandalorian. And it's one of the few shows, actually, science fiction-wise, that I've watched, say, since probably Babylon 5 and The Next Generation. I watched Deep Space Nine a bit. So I'm not that into science fiction as much, but this has kindled an interest, a huge interest. Threshold moves, of course, face death, face desolation, repair. And then you've got hearten, when you socialize, share intimacy. Ooh, there's sexy stuff possibly. Or find a moment of peace. Find a moment of peace. I love that, because that strengthening of yourself, your character, building character, through taking these moments to hearten. And if you get a weak hit, oh my gosh, the indulgence is fleeting, envision an interruption or complication or an inner conflict. And of course, the miss is pay the price, which will spur you on to other stuff. And of course, here you've got the fate moves, which is pay the price. A lot of stuff here. So if you're not familiar, you've got a trusted individual who acts against you. You've got opportunity for an enemy. You've got something of value is lost or destroyed. You've got a new enemy is revealed. Or you're harmed, stressed. You might need to roll twice and get a couple of these things. I like this oracle down here. I thought for the longest time that I really needed to have a yes, but, and yes, and no, but, and no, and. But I think that with the moves and the way the moves are geared, you don't need the yes, and the yes, but. because it's intrinsically implied in the system. So if you're thinking about using maybe what the geek gamers use in terms of the yes button and the yes Dan, and I think that that's a little chart from Maze Rats, and I was thinking of using that, but I think that it's just implicit here. So you got an almost certain, likely, 50-50, unlikely, and a small chance. And I like that oracle in terms of yes-no answers. And that's it for that one. Well, we're on this now. I'm just going to transition over. I think my computer is having a bit of a heart attack here. There we go. And it is having a heart attack. It's saying to me, you've been recording for way too long. So, here are asset sheets. I'm just going to kind of whip through them. There's the vehicle. There's the support vehicles that you have. So let's just quickly look at this because I showed you a lot of other stuff. So you've got the exosuit. That's compelling. I'd love to have that. The hoverbike. Who doesn't want the friggin' hoverbike? Like, that would have been my first choice, but I've got this character concept and I'd love to have it and I might still get it, but I've got this, see, and that's the beauty of this system, is you want so much and you can't have it, and you're not going to get it all. Now, can I have a hoverbike? Of course I can have a hoverbike. I can have whatever the fuck I want. But to have that extra bonus of your unarmed hoverbike provides speedy transport and is equipped to carry up to 2 people with their gear, okay, take +1 momentum on a hit, on a strong hit with a match. You also surge ahead and find new paths, mark progress when you set a course over, and then the other 2 descriptions. But it's nice to have that bonus of +1 momentum on a hit. So you can still have the asset, not in a card form, but you can still have it and say, okay, I'm going to, I'm going to still have a hovercraft or a hoverbike or whatever, but I'm just not going to get any bonuses for it. You can do whatever you want. It's your own imagination, right? I'm trying to see if there was anything that really kind of just was like awesome, and I was like looking at it, and they're all so compelling. Again, I can't say enough. So we're going to go back to the front view here, and I'm going to wrap things up. Ultimately, this is to say that I find what is currently available and what is presented is amazingly compelling and is something that I really hope you consider investing in. I look forward to kind of supplementing this video with kind of views to what I haven't seen, and I'll just briefly go over some of the things that I'm excited about and what I haven't seen. So you may just choose to watch other people and see what other opinions are. I think that anybody who is putting a video up on Ironsworn Starforged is doing it because they love the system. Support people. Support all of the everybody who's putting stuff up. Support them. Like, subscribe, even if it's just briefly, just to give them some hope and to encourage them to keep on putting up stuff. There's not, most of us are small fry when it comes to YouTube, and there's not many of us, including myself, who are looking to ever monetize. If I get some money so that I can buy some equipment or maybe some games or something like that, yay! But I've got a job, and I'm satisfied to just be keen. And if there are keen people who are out there and you support them and you like what they've done, like, subscribe. And if you want to find out what they're doing, click their bell. There are a lot of good content creators who are going to be coming up with Starforged stuff in the coming weeks. Don't ignore them, please, because there's a lot of work that goes into planning a video. Support them, absolutely. And if you found this interesting, you'll be prompted to do the thing, right? So thank you for being with me. I think that an hour and 20 minutes to cover all of the information that I did was pretty good. Gives you a good idea of what's currently available to the playtesters. and what they've seen and what they've commented on and what they've augmented. Don't forget that this was crafted during COVID, and I think that that adds an extra bonus to this, because haven't we all been out in space? Haven't we all been isolated? Haven't we all felt that Ironforge feeling? D&D is maybe not as important to me now, because I can't be with my friends. I can't group up. Doing things on the internet is great and stuff, but I haven't engaged in that. I haven't gone on Discord or on Roll20 or anything like that to play with other people. And that's partly my shyness and my introverted nature. I did a video on that. I'm embracing this time of lamentation. I'm embracing this time of feeling awkward and alone and isolated. And I think crafting this type of game in this type of environment is perfect. And to see them draw on the Mandalorian, not implicitly, but it's there. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is implicit. It's there, but it's not enough to get you into trouble with with copyright. But it's awesome. It's great. And again, I can't express my enthusiasm anymore. And I just had to do this. I couldn't wait a week to do this. So enjoy. I hope you're excited. Please, again, go to the website to Kickstarter and look it up and put yourself on notification. I really want every success for the team that has worked on this. Anyway, take care. Have a great time. Thanks a lot for spending an hour and 20 brief minutes with me. I guess my New Year's resolution didn't pan out the way I wanted it to. Anyway, take care, everybody. And I guess I'm going to see you the next time, probably on the 27th or 28th. All right, take care. Bye.